Hi, I'm Katie Todd, and today's episode is called When Saying I Love You Just Isn't Enough. That might seem a strange thing, but it's amazing the choices that I've watched myself and others make when they hear those words from another. I want to tell you a story about a client that I met a long time ago who was telling me about a marriage that he had. He'd been off travelling with a lady all over Europe, and they, as had always been the way, had had a fairly tempestuous time. They were a couple that were prone to conflict. There would be arguments here, she'd want this, they'd want to do different things. It was a difficult relationship. They went around for a long time. It was the trip of a lifetime. Previously to this man had been engaged to someone. He was ready to get married, he was excited. And a few weeks before the wedding date, the bride said, "I'm sorry, I'm just not ready to get married." Now you can imagine how devastating that would be. One of the huge moments of your life. So the new woman that he went travelling around the world with became his friend and would listen to him and hear about how painful that was for him and was a great support to him. Eventually they began to have a relationship, and then the big trip was planned and off they went around the world. They'd been travelling for some time where the conflict just got too much, and he said right, or they both said that's it, and they ended it. He flew off to London, moved on his merry way. He was a bit of a party boy, this boy, and he already had found some other people, and off he went. He was having a good time. Meanwhile, the lady was still over in another country, and she was missing him. So back in those days, you could tell this is an old story, she sent him a telegram. And in the telegram, she said those wonderful little words. She said, "I love you." That absolutely jolted him. And he thought, oh, okay, well maybe you are the one for me. So they went back, came back to Australia and got engaged. The families knew it was not a good match, but they were determined. Remember, he was ready to get married. He'd been wanting to get married before. He was ready to go and have a family. So he was moving on, and she'd said, "I love you," so he got married. Needless to say, that marriage was a very difficult one, almost from the start. They did have a family, whom they absolutely cherished. However, the difficulties went on, and for 2 decades of their adult life, they were spent in conflict and enormous pain. Now, upon hearing this story, you think, why choose that? Why go there? It was so obvious you weren't working. The conflict was there. The difficulties were there. As always, you need to go back to the childhood to find out, why do we go there? And this is the link to the other episode, Uncanny Attraction. For my client, he'd come from a very loving family. His mother particularly was like an angel, unconditionally supportive and loving. She thought he was gorgeous. She'd never said a cross word. She was beautiful. His dad, who he knew loved him, was a very distant father though. He was very, very conservative and traditional, and he was in his shed doing things, a totally different personality. So he would be a more removed John Wayne sort of father. He was not warm, he was not demonstrative, he was a good breadwinner, he was a very good man, great integrity, loved his family, but from a distance. He had more in common with his other son, who liked to potter around and fix things. My client was a very creative, artistic man, and he just couldn't understand that. He was also a musician. He thought, why are you wasting your time doing this? He couldn't understand that side of the world. Eventually, my client made a bit of money from some of his artistic endeavours, and then his father started to take notice and say, well, maybe there is something in it, as long as you make money from it. As he looked back at his marriage some years later, he realised that the holes that he had with his father were the ones that he had in his marriage. His father was distant. His father was not affectionate or warm. He was not complimentary. And he only valued his work, his artistic endeavours, if they brought him in money. His wife had been exactly the same. She was not affectionate, she was not warm, she was very distant. And she only valued his work as an artist if it brought him money. And when it wasn't, she was very upset and very insecure and complained a lot about it, and it created a lot of conflict. Once again, it shows that unconsciously we get drawn to the person who reminds us of the parent who we didn't feel that we got exactly what we needed from, that unconditional love. But the basis of that relationship is lack. It is what was missing. As a kid, I felt that I lacked this from my dad, or I lacked this from my mum. And from you, I'm feeling that same energy, so I'm going to go to you. So can you see, we get attracted to them because of the lack. And then when that parent figure, partner, person we're interested in right now says, I love you, it's like hearing from our parent those very words. That's what you wanted. That's what the child in you wants. They want to know that they're lovable. They're trying to heal that that sense of a lack of love from the parent. So they only have to say those words and we're there. And all of the evidence is saying don't go here, because really the connection is about lack. It's about what's missing. Therefore, it is doomed. Therefore, that relationship is going to perpetuate the pain that you had from your childhood and make those doubts you have about how lovable you are even greater. Have a look at your relationship and see if you can see a mirror. It's not that we're saying your partner is exactly like your parent or exactly the same. It might be a mixture of the two, but whatever was missing there, often that's the link, and it leads to the same misery and unhappiness. I, for one, can see that, and my response was exactly the same. As I would get angry as a child, and I got angry in my first marriage, extremely angry, because I felt like I was getting the same message: you're not lovable. It's really interesting. I would say that love is an action. So those words, I love you, are not always enough to guarantee happiness.